Morning to all members of the media, all the media houses represented here, and even those that are watching the press briefing online. Thank you for coming. We meet here today to provide an update on the upcoming ANC Youth League Second National General Council, to launch our discussion documents and to reflect on critical issues that confront young people and the nation at large. The NGC is not a ceremonial event. It is an historic gathering of young people across our structures where we'll debate, reflect, and take bold resolutions. It will make the renewal and repositioning of the Youth League as an uncompromising voice of young people in South Africa and the world in general. The discussion documents we are launching today are designed to provoke thoughts and inspire solutions on the economy, on education, on social transformation, and on the fight for a truly equal society, on immigration and border management. The Youth League believes in the principle of solidarity with the oppressed across the world. However, this solidarity cannot come at the expense of the stability of South Africa. We are clear, only documented immigrants must be permitted in South Africa. Uncontrolled and illegal migration places an unsustainable burden on our communities, on the health system, on education, and most importantly, on the labor market where young South Africans are already struggling to find work. We therefore call on the Department of Home Affairs to pull up their socks. The department must fix inefficiencies and stop corruption in issuing of documents, and act firmly against those who undermine immigration laws. We also call for the strengthening of borders with modern systems and technologies to protect the sovereignty of our country. On food safety and regulation of spaza shops. Our communities across South Africa, especially townships and informal settlements, are facing serious risks due to unregulated spaza shops, and many of those outlets are selling expired, substandard, and sometimes dangerous goods to our people. The ANC Youth League calls for an urgent enforcement of food safety standards and the strict regulation of spaza shops, ensuring that every operator complies with South African laws. Food security and health of our people cannot be compromised in the name of profit. According to South African law, foreign nationals would only be hired for scarce skills. We therefore call for spaza shops, supermarkets, hardware stores should be owned and managed by only South Africans. On youth unemployment and economic participation. The youth unemployment remains the single most urgent crisis in our country. Over 60% of young people are unemployed, which is a ticking bomb if it's left unaddressed. We cannot continue to operate in an economy that is extra active, where South African export raw minerals only and only import finished products at a higher price. The ANC Youth League has been proposing a beneficiation of 70% of our raw materials, as well as the reindustrialization of strategic mineral resources. We further call for export quotas that protect local industries and ensure that South African markets are not flooded with cheap imported product that destroys jobs. If beneficiation, industrialization, and local procurements are implemented decisively, they will unlock thousands of sustainable jobs for young people and develop skills and begin to break the cycle of poverty. On our struggle for economic freedom and the post-bank. The struggle for freedom in our lifetime remains non-negotiable. The Youth League reaffirms its demands for radical economic transformation that gives young people ownership, control, and meaningful participation in the economy. In this regard, the strengthening of the post-bank is urgent. The post-bank must become a popular bank that provides affordable financial services, support for youth entrepreneurs, and reduce reliance of exported private banks that have long excluded the poor in South Africa and black in majority. In fact, SASSA and NEFSA's beneficiaries should mainly get their grants and stipends via Postbank. On the transformation of the education system, NEFSA's TVET colleges and the Bella Act. NEFSA's crisis has left too many young people excluded from the accessibility of their education. Corruption and maladministration and weak systems have compromised the future of thousands of students. We demand that government act urgently to reform NEFSA's and create transparency and student-centered funding model that is efficient and free of corruption. Our TVET colleges must shift from the narrative that TVETs should not be regarded as inferior institutions. They must be seen as a center of excellence and that drives skills development. The institute calls for each TVET campus to be resourced and specialized according to industries of needs. SETAs must use their budgets to invest in modern specialization, ensuring that graduates are work-ready and are ready to respond to the economic demands. On the Basic Education Law Amendment Act, that represents a step towards transformation of education. Yet the DA has openly resisted its full implementation. By rejecting the Pillar Act, the DA seeks to maintain the privilege and exclude majority from schools. The Youth League calls out the hypocrisy and harshness and demands that the Act gets implemented fully by its minister. As the ANC Youth League, we cannot remain silent in the face where gender-based violence and the alarming levels of crime in our communities. Too many young people and young women and children continue to suffer at the hands of perpetrators. While many young men are being lost to violence and crime and drugs and gangsterism, we reaffirm our commitment to intensifying campaigns that mobilize communities against gender-based violence, to strengthening partnership with law enforcement, to advocate for harsher measures against perpetrators. At the same time, we believe that government must invest in youth employment as a preventive strategy. On the role of expectation of the newly appointed NYDA leadership, the ANC Youth League once again congratulates the appointed leadership of the National Youth Development Agency, which assumed office on the 1st of August 2025. We extend our best wishes as they embark on the important responsibility of championing the inspiration of the young people across the country. The Youth League expects a strong working relationship with the new leadership, one rooted in partnership, accountability, and agency. We urge them to serve with integrity, innovation, and to ensure that young persons are not left behind. On the decisive leadership of the ANC and the ANC Youth League. Our movement and our league requires decisive leadership that puts people first and resists factionalism. The ANC Youth League commits itself to build a youth league that is militant, disciplined, and rooted in the struggles of our people. The future of South Africa cannot be left to indecisive leaders and opportunists. The future of South Africa cannot be left to indecisive leaders or opportunists. We must rebuild the ANC and the ANC Youth League as to be a trusted vehicle of transformation. On the taxi violence, the ANC Youth League has noted and discussed the ongoing violence happening in our country. We call on SATACO to be decisive on keeping the violence. The taxi industry is the initial mode of transport for majority of South Africans, particularly workers and students. Equally, we are concerned about the continuous harassment to providers of e-hailing services by some elements within the taxi industry. This harassment not only affects the economy, but also affects those that depend on the service. But we also call upon the owners of the e-hailing companies to stop employing foreigners and illegal foreigners and employ South Africans to be the full participants and owners of this e-hailing program. On the conduct of the opposition parties in the government of national unity, the establishment of the government of national unity has placed opposition leaders in position of responsibility. However, the conduct has exposed their lack of seriousness and capability. The DA continues to undermine the government's protocols and demonstrates arrogancy in the GNU. Gaten Mackenzie and Bantu Holomisa of Bantu Stand have embarrassed themselves with recklessness and uninformed statements. These incidences have exposed the critical truth that many of these parties are not prepared to lead South Africa. They are driven by only populism and self-interest. On the national convention, the recent national convention, for the purpose of the national dialogue, excluded meaningful youth participation and representation, reducing young people to spectators in discussing about their own future. We stayed firmly. This cannot happen again. Any genuine national dialogue must put the youth at the center and must produce a clear outcome-based goal that prioritizes the economy, jobs, and the creation of education. Without youth, there is no future. The agenda of the national dialogue will re-emphasize it must be economy, economy, inclusion of the economy, economy. Anything else is a joke. On readiness of the NGC and the fundraising efforts, the ANC Youth League is ready, structures are mobilized, delegates are prepared. The discussion documents are on the table. The NGC will not be an inward-looking gathering. It will be a youth-led national dialogue, a real youth-led national dialogue where the church will cause the next and change decades to come. We also acknowledge the efforts of the Treasurer's Office, which has organized a fundraising business launch to assist the youth in operation which is operating without a budget, the youth which is operating without a budget. This is bound to an innovative step in proving that once again, that young people can be resourceful and solution-driven. If I get into that, in conclusion, we would like to wish the Scorpion Kings well on our forthcoming Amapiano concert, which will be honoring the legendary Ntate Kefas Semenya this Friday, the 29th of August. We'll be there in attendance, Samkel. Comrades and friends, the NGC is a moment to shape the sphere of the Youth League. It is our platform to hold the movement accountable. We propose radical solutions to ensure that the youth voice is heard loudly and clearly, shaping the future of the country. This NGC sits few months before the ANC NGC. We're not going to the ANC NGC without a mandate from our own branches. And we want to highlight this year that in 81 years, this is the second ANC Youth League historic NGC. Now, when we're saying that we're the best amongst our peers, we're not lying. We are ready to lead. We are ready to fight for economic freedom in our lifetime. We are ready to ensure that the Youth League remains at the forefront of youth struggles. Thank you.